Welcome to another installation of Talking Veterans Affairs with Dennis Anderson. I'm Dennis Anderson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a veterans advocate, and my time was in the Cold War Army, and I also spent some time in Iraq about a million years ago. But it wasn't really a million years ago. We're here to talk about veterans and their families and things that matter to them. We're not affiliated with the VA, but we do want to be helpful to veterans, so we talk about things that matter to them. In our studio today, our guest is former United States Marine Corps Corporal Krishna Flores. She is a combat veteran of the Iraq War, and she also does work with the VA on outreach, so she shares her experience to the community to help bring other veterans home. Good day, Krishna.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm really pleased to have you here because I've been able for several years to watch you share your truth with veterans, and I've seen it help people. So maybe you can tell me a little bit, how did you become a Marine?
Oh, that's an interesting story.
Okay.
So, originally,
Yes.
I wanted to join the Army.
Ah, okay.
Hey!
Not insulted.
No? And so I went to the recruiting office, but the office was closed.
Happens.
First thing in the morning, the Marine Corps office was right next door. The Marine Corps recruiters were in. They saw me standing outside, they popped their head out, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to sign up for the Army." "Why the Army?" I'm like, "Because they're the best." Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Yes. So he stepped out in his uniform. He's like, "The best. What about the Marine Corps?" I'm like, "What's the Marine Corps?" I didn't really know all the branches. All I knew was Army. Because I was a
Okay.
big fan of Band of Brothers
Sure.
and the Pacific. So
How interesting.
just the Army just always stood out to me versus any other branch.
Okay.
And so they stuck their head out and they said, "The few, the proud, the few were women Marines." And I was like, "Sign me up."
Well, I have seen you in your dress blues. It's a pretty sharp uniform, as they say. But let me ask you, I understand that you trained, I think, for what we call Motor T, but you ended up fighting in Iraq.
Yes.
How did that happen?
So once I arrived to my first duty station in Okinawa, Japan, Camp Hansen, 3rd Medical Battalion,
Roger.
6 months into the fleet or so, we had an opportunity. They came asking for volunteers.
Oh, so you volunteered, did you?
Yes, I did. I volunteered in 2004 originally,
All right.
and it didn't leave my unit to attach to a whole different unit in Camp Lejeune, which was second
Okay.
MLB or something, CLB. So I went from Okinawa to Camp Lejeune, where I was retrained and became an augmented military police.
Okay. Did you find Iraq hard, hot, and unforgiving?
Yes.
How so?
Well, it was a combat zone. I provided convoy security.
Okay.
So I looked for mines and IEDs and searched through vehicle, people, women, patrolled. It was a lot of hard work, and being the only woman in my squad was also challenging.
Okay. You experienced harassment in the military, is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, like many women, 1 out of 4 women that go to the VA experience some form of sexual assault in the military, and in regards to men that go to the VA, 1 out of 100 experience some form of sexual assault as well. So unfortunately, I fell in 1 out of those 4.
All right then.
And right before my deployment, I experienced sexual assault with the person I deployed with, which was of higher authority. And I ended up deploying with them, and with that going on the deployment and not reporting it because I was young,
Yes.
the context around it was very bad.
How old were you? How young were you?
I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
I was 19 years old when this happened, and I feared reporting because I didn't want people to think I made this up.
Sure.
Or I regretted it and I made it up so I don't deploy,
Okay.
which wasn't the case.
So you sucked it up.
I sure did.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, and I deployed, and so it came with the perception that I slept with someone for special treatment, and it was told to me, and I believe what happened was that was shared with the actual MP unit platoon sergeant that we were attached to, and he just didn't like that.
No.
He was just like, what? No way. So they made my time, my first 2 months in Iraq, very challenging.
Well, when I hear you say very challenging, probably that translates to miserable.
Yes.
And it's a betrayal, is it not, when the people you train with and the people you deploy with end up being people who are assaultive toward you. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I had very little allies within my squad and much less with that throughout the whole platoon.
What did you do to cope?
I operated in a very dark space.
Oh,
I volunteered for anything and everything. How I coped was looking for risk and trying not to come home. That was just how I coped, and that's what helped me get through it. And after 2 months of doing that, I think everyone's perception of me changed.
sure.
And eventually they kind of stopped messing with me as much.
This is a very fast forward version of an experience that has impacted untold thousands of service members. Predominantly female, perhaps by the statistics, but men get hurt by it too. It's called the double betrayal of military sexual trauma. But something that veterans' families and friends should know is these were stand-up troops. These are people who had to put up with unreasonable stuff to put up with. Corporal Flores, veteran, continues on her journey, and we may share about that in another edition of Talking Veterans Affairs. If you think we're doing good work, please subscribe. Thank you.